It's raining out as my wife and I sit underneath the awning. This rain is kind of preventing us from having the campfire that we would normally have, but we're grateful that we can sit outside in the fresh air and enjoy nature, even though it's raining. It's keeping us dry. We're talking about our day. We're in central Indiana, south central Indiana, and earlier today we went to some wineries. Now, Indiana has a lot more wineries than I thought they had. It's no California, of course, but there's a lot more wineries here than there are back home in Minnesota. So after some research, we found three wineries that were relatively short distance drive, but also allowed our dog Bingo to come with. So we head out, we go to the first winery, and we have a great time. A fantastic time, actually. It's at this winery that we decided, it's probably a better idea to spend more time and experience each winery more and do that for fewer times. Do that for just a couple instead of spending a little bit of time in a lot of different wineries, right? So we made the decision to let's skip the second one on our list and go straight to the third one. So after our time at the first winery, we go to the third one on our list, second winery of the day. Now this one wasn't as fun. This winery was right on a freeway. Their tasting was free, but it had more of a salesy vibe. It was kind of rushed. And their patio was not nearly as large. There was kind of smashed for space. There weren't a lot of people there, but all the tables were really close together. And it just wasn't as comfortable. So as we're under the awning, reflecting on our day, we think, man, you know what? We really should have gone to the second winery and skipped the third one. And this what if thinking got us feeling a little bit of regret. Like, man, we really should have gone to the second one. I bet you the second one was really cool. But then it finally dawned on us. We only can think like this. We can literally only think like this because we did what we did. Had we gone to the second and skipped the third, we'd be sitting in this exact same place saying, man, I wonder what the third one would have been like. Right? We only know this because of hindsight. And this what if thinking is rarely good for us. Find out more right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist here with another Money Health presentation. I'm going to talk about this what if thinking. Right, so when we think about this what if thinking, what we're really doing is thinking about alternate realities. We're comparing this is how it is, this is what actually happened, and we're comparing this to what might have happened. Now, when you take the list of things that are impossible, and things that are bad for us, and things that we think about, like this little person here is thinking about, trying to change the past fits right in that center. It's impossible to change the past, yet we think about it, and it's actually bad for us most of the time. And this happens so often. There's actually a word for it. It's called counterfactual thinking. Counterfactual thinking is comparing. We're the only species that we know of that can do this. I don't think my dog Bingo does this. But thinking or comparing what if to what might have been. That's counterfactual thinking. Now, there's a version called downward counterfactual thinking where you're kind of looking down. If you kind of envision like outcomes as a spectrum. Now, that's oversimplifying it, of course, because everybody's got different values and everything. But if you're looking down at the way your life would have been worse, that's called gratitude. That's actually good for you. That recognizes and helps you acknowledge how good your life is. That prevents you from taking your life for granted. Now, as good as that is, though, most of us spending our lives looking up, wishing and wondering how our lives might have been better. That's upward counterfactual thinking. And that's what most of us are doing. And that's the kind of counterfactual thinking that's bad for you. So this is what's happening. You've got this path. There's all the possible paths you could have taken. And this blue line, that's what you did do. And now you're sitting here and counterfactual thinking is saying, man, what if this would have happened instead? This little line here. What if that would have happened? Gosh, my life would be so much better off right now. I kind of liken this to a different version of FOMO. FOMO, of course, is fear of missing out. That's kind of more forward looking. But when we're looking back, like this person is, you can think of this like as the fear of having missed out. I missed out on this path when I ended up on this path. And so that's kind of what counterfactual thinking is. Now, one thing that we know for sure is that we can't change the past, right? So, of course, it makes sense sometimes to think back on our role on how things turned out. We can learn from those things. We can figure out what we might have done differently so that we can apply that going forward. Not so that we can ruminate on it, but so that we can use it going forward. But again, that's not what most of us do. So if this represents all the things that are a good use of your time, ruminating on things you can't change, sitting out there in this red dot, you can't change the past. And ruminating on it and hoping what if and wondering what if is just not helpful. So remember, this is the path you're on. This is the path you kind of wish you were on. All of that is irrelevant because you can't change the past. There are no alternate realities. You can't rerun the universe. There is no Marty McFly going back to the 1950s and changing anything here. That's the past. You can't change it. What you have is the future. You've got all these potential paths. And what you do today is going to determine which of those paths you're on. So that's the relevant thing to consider. So you've got the past here. Now, there's things that you can't do. You can't change what happened. Again, waste of time. But if you look over at the things you can do, you can learn those lessons. You can gain valuable experiences, and you can remember those memories. Because remember, of all the life paths, there's lessons, there's memories. That's what exists back here. Right now, this is how it is. And what you do today will impact your future. So what will you do today? You only have one life. Live intentionally.